Warning! The following video contains massive spoilers, obviously. Hello everybody, my internet name is Nitro Indigo and today I'll be picking apart the plot holes in the creatively titled Pokémon Super Mystery Dungeon. I recently made a video about my complaints about the story of Explorers, but oh boy, I have even more to say about this game. Also, this video contains vague spoilers for Gates to Infinity as well. More specifically, my biggest problem with the plot of Pokémon Super Mystery Dungeon is the ending. Right in the last cutscene, the partner tells the player that in the distant past, Mew and a human fought dark matter, but couldn't destroy it for good. They decided to erase their own memories so that they didn't rely on what they already knew or something, and fight dark matter far into the future as the partner and player. When the partner accepts dark matter, the part of dark matter that came from Mew disappears, which will eventually cause them to turn into sparkles and fly away. Let me list off all of my problems with this. First of all, this is way too sudden. We didn't even know that Mew was involved in all of this until right before the penultimate dungeon in Celebi's big exposition speech. Granted, it was foreshadowed with things like the harmony scarves and the partner being afraid of ghosts, but I feel probably would have thought it came out of nowhere if I didn't already half know it in advance. I think it would have worked better if early on in the game we heard a legend about Mew or something. To go off on a tangent here, another reason why this feels so sudden is because of this game's pacing. The first half of the game is a series of glorified tutorials in Serene Village, and then once they finally get to the Exposition Society, it's still a while before anything interesting happens. Compare this to Pokémon Ranger Shadows of Olmia, which also began at the school, but it only lasted about an hour or so of playtime. Plus, almost every named character at the school in Shadows of Olmia is important to the plot, while the only significant characters from Serene Village are Nuzleaf and Esper. Speaking of Nuzleaf, second of all, earlier on in the game, Nuzleaf said that the player character came to the Pokémon world knowing what they had to do, but then the Behem erased the player's memories, and said Behem even feels guilty about it. This script may have required some proofreading. Third of all, Dark Matter's hatred rained down on the world? What hatred? Back in my Gates to Infinity review, I said that it didn't seem like there was much negativity in the world of Pokémon Super Mystery Dungeon. In a Springhole article that I'll link to in the description, it says that if you want to copy an idea from another story, there should be a reason to exist in your story's universe. If hatred was ending the world again, then it certainly didn't feel like it. This game's tone is incredibly saccharine until the plot actually starts happening, and even then, the only remotely negative characters are the antagonists. Fourth of all, why did the partner have to disappear? Because the part of dark matter that came from you disappeared? What? Isn't dark matter made of everyone's hatred? I get what they were trying to go for here. The world is saved, but as a necessary evil, a sympathetic character has to go. If that's the case though, why did it take a few weeks for Xerneas to tell the partner about Mew? The way the partner's exposition monologue is worded makes it sound like Mew chose for this to happen, which makes no sense. Why put yourself and your friends through needless heartache? To be fair though, this issue mostly comes down to the way it's worded and could have been the result of a mistranslation. What can't be blamed on the mistranslation though is how they acknowledge that the player has a life in the human world, but they choose to abandon it. I forgot to mention in my Gates to Infinity review that I think that game twisted the standard PMD ending much better. In that game, everyone knows that the player has to go and they've come to accept it. Remember early on in Gates when the partner says that they were lonely until they met the player and knew that they had to say goodbye to the player eventually? Apparently, Chunsoft doesn't. I think this would have worked better if the player found out the partner had to go in advance but didn't want to tell them, or if the partner found out in advance just like the player did in previous games, so they were hesitant about fighting dark matter. But my fifth and biggest issue is how unnecessary this plot twist feels. I really don't like it when works of fiction put plot twists in right at the end after the conflict has been resolved, because it usually feels like the twist was put in just for the sake of having a sad ending, rather than actually wrapping up the plot. Would the plot of this game be any different if Mew wasn't in it? Not by much. Don't worry though, the partner comes back because Xatu foresaw them reappearing in Purifying Cave. In summary, the plot of Pokémon Super Mystery Dungeon makes it seem like Chunsoft were more focused on being dramatic than making sense. I get what they were going for, two friends who come from humble beginnings lose their innocence and end up saving the whole world. However, when you give it some thought, it all starts to fall apart.